Hello viewers, today we are going to clean and service this Home Depot fan. This is what they're considering a 9-inch tabletop fan. Model number TF-810S. Manufactured by Chung Yuan Electric Company Limited. And this one is from March of 2016, so it probably sold in the summer of 2016. And I did not realize that these excuse me I did not realize these had been around for this long. I thought these were a relatively recent invention, if you will, but I guess these have been sold for quite a few years. So this does still run. It seems to run pretty well as far as the motor is concerned, although it seems to be losing airflow very quickly as the dust builds up. It's spinning freely, but the airflow is quite limited. It's very noisy. See, the spin down time is, for a chintzy lightweight blade on a cheesy motor, relatively satisfactory. So this is the first time I've ever serviced one of these, so this will be a good kind of telltale of how easily these are serviced. So it looks like we're going to have 4 screws around the outside, which are all standard size Phillips screws, no crazy security bits or whatever that are making an appearance on some fans today. Now, of course, I don't know if the design of this one is the same as the one they currently manufacture. It looks identical. The only difference I can see is it has that chrome ring around the front, which I don't particularly like. These screws are coming out easily. This one's giving a little bit of trouble here. Come on. There we go. Okay, so there's the 4. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Plastic or something in there. Anyways, there's the 4 guard screws. And this comes right off. And actually, you know what? I guess that really would explain why it's losing airflow. That's pretty dirty. Just out of curiosity, let's run it up again and see if it's moving substantially more air. Huh. Okay, it seems to have slightly locked up a little bit as I took the guard off, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's moving more air. Well, I don't know, bewildered about the motor. Now it's okay again. Yeah, it's moving more air now, but still not quite that much. What the heck? The GFI outlet just tripped out. That's a little concerning. Well, we'll have to check the switch while we're in there. Alright, so I am seeing something I don't like. And that is this stupid non-removable thing holding the blade on the shaft. This is the same stupid non-removable thing that makes an appearance on the Honeywell turbo fans. So the only way I know of to get this thing off is to essentially ruin it. So that's what I'm going to do. This is potentially very dangerous to the eyes, so wear eye protection if you're going to do this. And there's not really a good way to get this off. You kind of just have to take a small screwdriver and jam it in there and kind of lift up. Ultimately what you want to do is bend the tabs away from the shaft like this, so that you can pull it off. Now, I don't care about having this on there, so I'm just going to take it apart, and if it breaks like it is right now, I don't care. I'm not putting this back on like that anyways. Nope, that just flew off somewhere in the shop. I'll find it when I move out of here. So that's that. Now the blade should come off, which it did. And that's interesting. We don't normally see little strings of dust like that in there, but we're seeing it today. Here's the blade. Looking at the aerodynamics, it's a decent blade. So that's that. We'll get that cleaned up. And now let's see here. The switch should pull off, or at least the control knob anyways, which it did. And this is just like a little sticker. It's peeling up. I suppose we could glue that down if I wanted to be very thorough. Don't think I'm feeling that ambitious right now. This should house the capacitor. No capacitor, excuse me, this is not a PSC motor. Just the switch. On the bigger model, this I believe is where they house the capacitor. The switch should come out with a little bit of finagling. It's kind of a tight fit with the wires in there. But it should come, I think. It has to come, they got it in there somehow. Alright, so that's going to be interesting. We'll get the motor out of the way first. Well, I'm a little baffled by how they got that switch in there, because it's got that post for the screw right here, okay? So this can't go past that post, but yet there's still about 2/8 of an inch or a quarter, yes, I do know how to reduce fractions, that it has to come down still. I see. This isn't circular. This is... okay. So that can come out, but it's not exactly intuitive. Alright, so here is where we get a win over the Honeywell fan. And that is the fact that I can remove the cord. Well, I can't remove the cord completely, but I can take the cord and pull it through. And so now... whoops. I just undid the strain relief that was on there. And I can just pull the cord through here. And because this is a molded plug, this whole thing can just sit in the bathtub now or wherever. I probably could clean it in the sink because it's small enough. And then I'll just put this in a bag to keep it dry in case something terrible happens and somehow water gets on here or whatever. So... not bad. That came apart pretty easily, other than that stupid thing on the blade, which you don't even need it. So if you don't mind ruining it, then you're good to go. So let's go ahead and wash all this stuff now. Here's the parts cleaned up. Not bad, cleaned up pretty well. Even the guard came pretty clean. These style grills are usually pretty difficult to clean. But this one looks like it actually cleaned up pretty well. The new brush I got works quite well on cards like this. Unfortunately on this one, the crazy chrome thing is melted in, so it's not as easily removed like it is on the larger one. Base cleaned up just as well, so that's good. So now all that's left to do is take a look at the motor, which seems to be okay, but did have one anomaly as we saw before after removing the guard. Now this one, oh, it's locked up again. Oh wow, now it's really stiff. I can hardly even turn the thing. Is this just an alignment issue? Now this has to be taken apart. It's, yeah, even, oh wow. Look at that. It's all gummed up in there. Alright, so this definitely needs to be taken apart. Now, this is going to be a little bit challenging because there's rust on the shaft. And that means we can't simply just slide this off. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take some a sanding stick here. This is relatively fine. I'm going to go with this one. It's a little bit thicker. And I'm going to, I can turn this thing on here. There we go. It helps to turn the switch the right way. I'm going to plug this up. Hopefully this will spin. I don't know if it will or not. Oh, it's not even going to spin because it's so locked. Come on, free up enough to, if I can't get this running, this is going to be a pain in the rear to clean. I mean, to get apart if I can't get this spun up. That's the way we can't. It was spinning before. Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use some detergent oil. This is not the kind for bearings. This is the red can. Although some people claim it's non-detergent, but it's not for fans either way. I don't care. Let's see if I can use this to clean up the bearings a little bit. Just enough to get it spinning again. And then I can get it to spin, which I think we can now. Yeah, it's starting to free up a little bit. Not by much, but a little bit. Let's see if that'll do it. Well, it's trying. Nope, not quite. I don't understand how in the world this was working a few minutes ago. Now it's not working. I really don't understand that, because it didn't get wet or anything during the cleaning. It's just to show how locked up this really is. I mean, it's locked. It's completely locked. That's baffling. How does that happen when it's not even... Okay, good, there we go. So it's running now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sand stick here. I'm going to slowly run it along the shaft in order to get the rust off. And you want to go kind of quickly because you've only got a few minutes before the motor will get too hot to run without a blade on it. So I think that's pretty much good. Let's cut it off and check. Doesn't look too pretty, but it feels smooth now. Oh, the end of the shaft is kind of jacked up from where that stupid, what do you call it thing was. That thing that flew across the rum. I'm going to have to actually take a metal file to this, because that's not going to come down with the sanding stick. Now, of course, it seems like it's spinning perfectly freely now, which I don't quite understand that. So this motor is just off the rails. Alright, so, wow, so the motor's actually a little bit warm already. I think that'll be good enough to split this apart now. Look at the spin down time. It's perfect now. I don't quite understand that. I can feel a hairline of play in here. I'm not that surprised. None of these motors are really built with good bearings. Okay, we'll set that stator aside, and let's see what we can do here. Hopefully this will just slide right off. Now, got a little hung up at the end there. Probably should have sanded that a little bit more, but if this were a vintage piece I would have taken a little bit more care right then and there, but I'm not concerned about it. Okay, so I'm going to clean this off. There's quite a bit of gummed up lubricant coming out of these bearings, which is a good indicator that they may have used some kind of a detergent or just a very low quality cheap lubricant on this thing, which also would be all that surprising to me, given it's a, you know, all things considered, it's intended to be a pretty cheap fan. I like to get as much remnant of that out of there as possible. Front bearing is perfectly clean, so that's a little strange. or front of the shaft I should say. Okay, now to clean the bearings out. Start with the front one, which didn't seem like it was all that bad. Yeah, that's pretty clean. Now we'll do the rear one, which was the one that was very bad. Yep, lots of gummed up lubricant was in there. Okay, that should be that. Let's reassemble using the infamous Fian oil, blue can. It even has a picture of a fan right on the container. It says fans, so we know that this oil is for fans and the other one is not. I always like to put oil in between these little things here, the thrust washers, just in case those want to spin. Now they can do so. Put a drop of oil in the bearing itself, and then we'll put this back on, and this should glide pretty nicely, which you can see it doing now. Okay, so slide this back into the motor. The same thing with the front bearing. And these I typically just do kind of hand tight. I don't go crazy with these. It doesn't have to be that tight at all. Just enough so that it's not going to come loose. These do have lock washers on them. Well, this one's acting a little odd, so I am going to assist with the bolt driver here. Alright, and once that's done, I hate when the tools get all slimy from the oil, the fan oil. To align, we're going to take a screwdriver handle and just kind of strike the shaft a few times, and that should get it going pretty good. Pretty happy with that spin down time. So now I think we're ready to reassemble. Pull the cord back through. And this is right about where the strain relief sat, although the holes are full of water, so let's correct that. That's good enough. Put the strain relief back into place. You know, I'm not quite understanding what holds this switch in place. Unless there's something on here that... I mean, it really isn't. Oh, I think I see how it works. There's something in the back that it rests on. And I guess just the force of this piece up against it kind of holds it in place. Yeah, it's kind of a chintzy design, but it works, you know. And there's nothing wrong with the wiring. Everything checks out okay. Yeah, I see now how that holds into place. Where is the screw? Oh, it was one of these. All the same screws, which is nice. Although we're only talking two different places, so it's not that much to write home about. Okay. Get the motor mounted. I don't like that the motor doesn't have any vents behind it for the air to move through, but I guess it gets enough air going through the sides. A little bit of dust in the motor here. I kind of neglected to get that off of there, but that's not a big deal. Alright. Blade. Now that I've sanded the shaft down, it's moving too freely. Now I kind of wish that piece didn't go flying off of there. Let's see here. What can we do about this? Really the best way to fix this, if you were so inclined to do this, would be to put threads on the shaft and put a bolt on there. I don't feel like doing that, so I'm going to see if I can find that piece that went flying. I couldn't find it, but I had two of them in my scrap metal bin, so I think this one is still good enough to use, providing it's the same size shaft. It looks like it's going to be. So for now, I'm just going to put this stupid thing back on there. But the better way to do it would be to put something, put threads or something on there and use a bolt, so you can remove it more easily. Okay. That should suffice. As you can see, the spin down time is much better than it was. Let's go ahead and power it up. Make sure everything is working. Put the switch back on. I'm gonna have to glue that piece of paper down. Wow, what a difference in the airflow. This is more than it was moving on high before. You know, that's honestly quite impressive. I think this may actually outdo the old Honeywell turbo fans. This is no joke. definitely going to have to get a comparison video between this and the original Honeywell turbo at some point. I think this is a very close contender. Okay, now put the guard back on and screw it back together, and that'll be it. So as far as the serviceability goes of this versus the Honeywell turbofan, this is better because, primarily because of the way the motor is, you can remove it without having to unwire everything. Yeah, I think that's really probably the only major advantage. But to me that's a big one, because being able to put the whole thing in the bathtub and wash it, or the sink or whatever, even the dishwasher, if you put the motor in a bag, is huge, because cleaning this stuff without doing it that way is a pain. So I would say this definitely wins ease of servicing compared to the Honeywell fan. And that's it. Screws are back in. It's tilting properly. Okay, here's a final test run, setting number 1. We definitely lost a little bit of air with the guard on, but it's still moving pretty good air. I really am quite impressed with the performance of these fans. And high. You know what, actually it's not that much less powerful with the guard on. It's still quite strong. And it's running pretty smooth too. And spin down. Okay, spin down. I thought it would be better than that, but it's not bad. Alright, so there is the Home Depot fan from 2016 with 3 years of use. Still seems to be just fine.